Okay, I am Jim Degliumberto. I work for a company called Southeastrans. We've been Xeron software customers since it was $50 for a bunch of users. So we stocked up back in the day, back in 2009, 2010, on, I guess it was the original, the iPhone, and then quickly onto the original iPad. So what I'll do is I'll get into a little bit about what our company does, an overview of the mobile technology that we use, our integration, some of the value adds that iForm has allowed us to present to our customers. I want to talk a little bit about managing devices. We deploy a lot of devices. We have over 2,000 devices in the field today. Southeastrans owns all of those devices. They're corporate liable devices. And as we roll out into different regions, we roll out with iPads in every state that we move into. So I want to talk a little bit about managing the inventory, some new programs from Apple, and then how we use MDM to manage the application deployment. So Southeastrans was founded in 2000, but it's got a long history. The owner of the company is kind of a visionary. He ran an ambulance service in rural Georgia. And in 2000, with Medicaid expansion, realized that there was a need for brokering transportation to and from doctor's appointments. So Southeastrans is a Medicaid transportation broker. So if you are on public assistance and have to go to the doctor, but you don't have means to get to a doctor, you don't have a car, the government will pay for that transportation. And Southeastrans is one of many companies who help broker transportation through independent transportation companies to get people to and from doctor's appointments. The guiding principles for the company, invest in technology, and that's kind of where we come in with the iPad. We've invested heavily in mobile technology and integration so that we're delivering services similar to what FedEx and UPS can deliver. The owner of the company stated when I first joined Southeastrans in 2008, if FedEx and UPS can track a package, why can't we track a person? They're a little more valuable. And back then, we really couldn't afford to track. There weren't devices and technologies in place short of some large-scale Motorola and other vendors that would allow us to do that. So enter the iPad and the iPhone and the iForm, and it now became cost-effective for us to do so. This is just a quick roadmap of where we are and where we've grown. You can see, founded in 2000, we started in Georgia. In 2008, we were in Tennessee. 2008 to 2010 is when we really started looking at mobile technology. And I like to think that between that time, you'll see we launched in DC, then in Arkansas, Louisiana, Virginia, and now South Carolina. We've been moving ahead pretty strong, and I think a lot of it has to do with the mobile technology that we put in place and the way that we've integrated the iForm platform into the company. So let's talk a little bit about the mobile app. We've branded our app Net Insight for non-emergency transportation. We've got a mobile app that we deploy. It's white labeled. It's 100% iOS. We are 99% iPad. And it's deployed through an enterprise app catalog. So we're not on the Apple App Store. We use MDM to push out the applications. One of the things that we push around the application when we market to state agencies and healthcare organizations is that this is a proven technology. We're a small company. We have 1,000 users or so, 2,000 users. But we really leverage the iForm community to make sure that all the bugs are worked out. So we typically stay a version or two behind. We run roughly 2,500 iPads today. We do a ton of trips. We've performed over 5 million trips on these devices. We do about 4 million trips a year throughout the Southeast. One of the selling features that we push is that it's just a simple user interface, right? Our forms are very easy to use. They're very intuitive. We're not capturing a lot of data on the devices. A lot of the data that we are integrating back with is on our back-end systems. So for what the driver has to do, it's very, very simple for them. A lot of the drivers, when we rolled this out, this was the first tablet or computer that they had ever worked with. So we chose the iPad, we chose iForm, and we kept the forms extremely simple for the drivers. So this is a sample of what our forms look like when you launch the app. There's 4 forms. There's a sign-in form, which is, think of it as like a time clock. So Form 1 and 4 are basically signing in and signing out. So at the beginning of the day, the driver launches the app. They tell us which vehicle they're using. They sign in. They note a few things, the odometer reading. They check off whether they did their daily pre-flight checklist, check the tires, check the oil. Throughout the day, they're doing pickups and drop-offs. And they could be doing 10 to 15 pickups and drop-offs per day, typically within the same geographic area. And then at the end of the day, they're signing off. So we try and keep it extremely, extremely simple. What this has allowed us to do, though, is geocode and timestamp everything. So we integrate the geocodes, the timestamps back into our system. The electronic signatures are very important to us, so the signature capture. We do analysis on those signatures. The transportation that we perform is federally funded. So CMS is kind of the governing body that watches everything. They're very in tune to utilization and data integrity. So with the iPad and with iForm and the signature widget, the timestamps and geocodes, we're able to put together a system that says you picked someone up at the time they were supposed to be picked up, you dropped them off at the time they were supposed to be dropped off, you picked them up where they said they were supposed to be picked up and where they were supposed to be dropped off. And we have algorithms that check that to make sure that you're not picking somebody up and dropping them where they shouldn't be. And it helps reduce utilization and drive some of the fraud out of the system. And the signature capture is important because we're checking to make sure the person is who they say they are. And when we started this, everything was on paper. It was paper forms being collected by the drivers throughout the day, sent into us via the mail system, weekly or monthly, and we had 30 people who were just data entry clerks. And earlier in the slides when I showed the states that we've added, we still just have those 30 people. We haven't added any staff as we've added states because everything is now integrated through iForm. Everything's electronic and paperless. So when it was paper, you really couldn't stack signatures to determine who was who. But when we look at things today, when we can integrate, we pull the signatures down, we run custom reports, and we can just stack signature over signature. So if there's any issues with potential fraud, we can, we pull the data out, we can look at the timestamps and the geocodes, but we can also now look at all the signatures, which is a great tool for us. We can look at the member's signature when they sign for the transport. We can also look at the driver's signature. And believe it or not, there's times when the driver's signature looks just like the member's signature. This is some of the real-time data that we get. So you saw that we've got 4 forms. We do a pickup form and a drop-off form. And the reason why we have 2 instead of just 1 is that we wanted to be able to capture when a person was on the vehicle, and we wanted to know that in real time, and then when they got off the vehicle. And this allows us to see how long they spent on the vehicle. We can then query the system in real time and see, is Jim still on the vehicle? Should they be on the vehicle that long? There's alerts that can go off. So we use real-time data. This is a map of where our vehicles are. This is a couple days ago. This is 2 days ago. We've got a number of vehicles, so we cluster. We're not using Esri, so we're not that sophisticated in the mapping. But this is actually useful for us. We take the geocoded data. We can see where our vehicles are in near real time. For dispatching purposes, we will then query an address, see which vehicle is closest to that address, and then dispatch trips to that driver and to that vehicle. And that's all done through the integration with the APIs. So the way the whole integration piece works, we have a custom CRM that we built ourselves. It's a SQL Server backend, and it is used for all the call intake. So all of these trips that are performed, they're generated from calls into a call center. Those calls are recorded and then farmed out to independent transportation companies. They have an external website that they go to. None of these drivers or transportation companies look at the iForm Builder website. Everything is external to them. They go to their web portal, they see their trips, they then assign those trips to their drivers, which then pushes those trips out to the iPads through the iForm. The mobile data is collected on the app. It comes back to the website where it's then processed and then pushed back into our CRM system. So it's a circle. Trips are given to the drivers run them, they come back, they certify them. We get the data back, and then we end up paying for the transportation after it's been verified. This is the external website that we've developed. This is the dispatch screen. So what you have here are drivers on the left-hand side, and these are simply iForm users. So every transportation company that we have is set up in iForm. We segment the companies based on their states, so there's different profiles for different states, just to keep it simple. But drivers, trips from the CRM system, you can check boxes to select the trips. You select the driver, you assign the trips to the driver. We call the APIs from iForm. Those trips then get created as records on the 2 forms that we have. So they get entered into the pickup table, the drop-off table. This shows how we use the API, how many trips we've created since 2012. It's a ton of records. It's actually saved us a ton of time. Before we were dispatching and sending trips automatically to drivers, everything was manual entry. A lot of issues with typing in the wrong confirmation number, the member's name. This is really streamlined and really made us a lot more efficient. So we did not start with this, but we are really glad that we're there today. It definitely makes it easy for us. And you can see kind of the ebbs and flows. We're pretty consistent every day except for the weekends when trip volume goes down. So when trips come back from the iPads, when they're pushed back from the iPad application back into the iForm cloud, we have some ETL jobs. We run SQL Server that pick these trips up every 4 hours and load them back into the web portal. So it's not real-time back in, we schedule, because that's the way we were doing it back in the day. We haven't looked at any of the new data flows yet, but we probably will. So we do scheduled SQL Server jobs that go and pick the data up every 4 hours and load it into here. And this is where the transportation providers come back into to verify their trips. So anything that's certifiable is in green, which means everything is great. Everything went well on the device. They've got all the data elements that they needed. If there's a hazard or a warning, there may be something that just needs to be fixed. One of the cool features that we just added today is the ability to verify that the vehicle is correct. So again, data integrity is very important for us. When the driver signs in, they tell us which vehicle they're using. If that vehicle is not authorized, because we authorize, we inspect, we credential the vehicles. If that vehicle is not authorized, we won't accept the claim. We'll deny the claim. So you may see something, you may see a hazard. One of the things we just added is when you sign in, it posts the data back to us through an endpoint. We then verify the vehicle on the back end. If it's good, it's great, we don't say anything. If the vehicle doesn't match what's in our list, we then go back and notify the driver that they, through the notification, through the app, that they need to fix that driver record. So Tony helped us with that this morning, and that's going to go live probably this afternoon. This is the data that we've collected, and as it comes back, you can see that the signature is a little small, but the signature capture, all the timestamps, the pickup time, the drop-off time. We capture things like mobility, if you're in a wheelchair or stretcher. We capture whether the trip was as planned or if they canceled or if it was a no-show. We've kind of adapted and kind of moved a little bit further down the road with some of the no-shows. We've added subforms, but we've really taken this from when we started and really have grown it into our platform. And I don't think we'd be where we are today if we didn't have this system in place. And the way that it integrates and the way that we've used it is very impressive, and I think it's been very beneficial. This is some of the data that we get back. This is called our Spacetime Continuum report. No one really gets that. I think it's from Star Trek or something, but basically it's where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. And what we look at is, we've got the signatures that we pull in, the trip IDs, and then the pickup and drop-off variances. So we look to make sure that you were where you were supposed to be. And we use the geocode from the device and the geocode when the trip was booked. The address was originally geocoded. And we compare the two. And if you're green, you're great. If you're yellow, you're OK. If you're red, that claim is then looked into. And this is just one way that we help identify fraud within the system. It goes back to the data integrity. And this is something that a lot of the companies that we work with enjoy seeing. So this is just zoomed in a little bit more, but this is what we do. When the Scheduled drop-off location, we verify it against the device-based drop-off location. We've got some algorithms that tell you, the distance variance, 22 miles or whatever it is, and that's outside of the norm, so that's flagged as red. So where we've added to this, we started with just the pickup and drop-off forms and those 4 things, and then we realized that there was a lot more you could do with this. So we've since started to add barcodes to all the vehicles. So we inspect a few thousand vehicles a year. We use the iPad and custom forms to do the inspections, but a lot of the data that's being collected is repetitive. When you go out to inspect a vehicle, you're looking at the make, the model, the license plate, the color of the vehicle. So we've started to encode all that information into the barcode. When the compliance officer goes to the vehicle, they scan the barcode, it pre-populates half the form, and then they just complete the inspection. So this is just another way to extend and think differently about how you use the platform. This is a sample of our inspection form. We've got the vehicle ID. They type in the odometer reading. They do it outside the vehicle, inside the vehicle, and under the hood. 3 separate subforms. There's always a signature capture. That's one of the great widgets that we use just about on every form. Another form that we started to add, and this is something that came up. This is similar to the see something, say something. So one of the things that we noticed as we were plotting dots on a map is that we visit a lot of homes every single month. It's something like 60,000 distinct locations. So as we go, we realize that we see things that maybe need to be reported. So one of the cool features that we added was this member care program. So drivers build relationships with their passengers. If they get to a home and the passenger goes inside but the lights don't come on, or if the grass is a foot high now, if they hear something during the visit, they can easily document it on the iPad, send it back to us. It works through our care managers, who then contact the appropriate case manager at the HMO or state agency to help that person. So it was just a great value add that we added. We've deployed this in Tennessee, and it's a great program that we didn't even think about when we were putting out iPads. So there's a lot of cool things that we've decided to add to the platform as it's grown, and that's just one of the great capabilities of the system. All right, so this is one of the issues that we typically run into, is the inventory. So we've got a ton of devices. It's almost like library books, right? Because the same driver doesn't always have the same device. The same company doesn't always have the same device. They rotate around. So we barcode every device. We put every device in an OtterBox case. They're not tied to a vehicle, so they're not mounted. They're just typically sitting on a seat while they're driving down the road. But we barcode everything. We built some custom forms for inventory so that when we receive the device from either AT&T or Verizon, it's scanned, it's barcoded, it's put in the iForm. And then when it's checked out to a provider, it's scanned again. We use some pick lists, some option lists to assign it. But it's just a great way to keep track of all the devices. The next piece is this Apple DEP program. So I don't know if a lot of you are aware of that program. We weren't until last year. But it's a great program that helps with your deployments. So we use AirWatch as our MDM. And we typically would receive the devices in, enroll them over the air through AirWatch. We use the barcode as the user ID. But this Apple program has really cut that down. It allows you to integrate with either the carrier that you're purchasing them with and your MDM vendor. So if you're purchasing a ton of devices, those devices come pre-configured with your MDM. So when you're activating the device, it reaches out to the Apple server. The Apple server says, oh, this device is actually managed by an MDM vendor, and it just redirects you automatically there. So it allows us to streamline the process. We use over-the-air activation, and the devices are locked. So in the event that a device is lost or stolen, that device is really a brick. There's nothing you can do with it. In the past, you can enroll it in MDM after you received it, but there was always a way to get around unlocking that device if it was lost or stolen. This pretty much locks it down to its entirety. So one of the steps is, the activation. I don't know if you can read all that, but as you launch it, it just says this device is managed by Southeastrans, and there's nothing you can do with it. You can't go any further without either seeing this screen here that says who it's configured by, or the screen on the right where you're entering a username and password. And that's it. So if you're managing devices and you're worried about your assets, it's a great way to make sure that they're tracked and managed if they're lost and stolen. This is an email we received last fall. We ordered a few hundred iPads for our Virginia operations, and one box went missing off the FedEx truck when it came in. And about a week later, we got an email from someone who bought an iPad on Craigslist and tried to activate it, and it turned on, right? It looked like the Apple logo came up. They thought they were good. Paid $180 for it, but couldn't do anything with it because it was locked. So that was a great benefit of the process. So any questions or comments on that? I mean, it's been a great program. We've really integrated the entire iForm platform into our system, and a lot of times we've since added a few developers, and they always ask, well, why don't we just develop our own app? And I say, the flexibility of this, the way that you can branch out into vehicle inspections and branch out into other forms, we wouldn't be able to do that with a customized app. So this has really been a great platform for us, and we've really embedded it into the whole business process.